Lung 2 is in the centre of the deltoid pectoral triangle. To find the deltoid pectoral triangle, find the inferior border of the clavicle, the superior border of pectoralis major, and the medial border of the deltoid. Just in the centre of that triangle. Lung 1 is 1 sun inferior and slightly lateral to lung 2. To find the 1 sun, find the width of an intercostal space close to the sternum and transfer it over. Rin 21 is on the anterior midline at the manubrium, midway between Rin 22 and Rin 20. Rin 20 is on the anterior midline, level with the first intercostal space and the sternum. Rin 16 is on the midline at the xiphisternal junction. Rin 15 is 7 sun superior to the centre of the umbilicus, on the midline.
Do16 is located on the posterior midline at the base of the occiput. To find the base of the occiput, palpate down to about 1 sun superior to the posterior hairline. If you rock the head backwards and forwards very gently, you should be able to feel the cleft between the base of the occiput and the spine. Make sure you mark this point directly on the posterior midline. Bladder 10 is located 1.3 sun lateral to Do15. It's 4.5 sun from Do15 to the mastoid process. So divide this area into 3 and just come a little closer to the posterior midline. You'll be on the lateral edge of the trapezius muscle. Stomach 9 is located on the side of the neck on a contour with a laryngeal prominence. It's in between the sternocleidomastoid and the thyroid cartilage. The important thing here is to palpate medially across the sternocleidomastoid and feel for the carotid artery. This point must be located medial to the carotid artery so that you mark it in between the carotid artery and the thyroid cartilage. Stomach 10 is located midway between stomach 9 and stomach 11. It's on the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid, so be sure to palpate down the muscle to find this point. Large intestine 17 is located 1 sun inferior to large intestine 18, but on the posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid. If the person turns the head against resistance, it should be quite easy to locate the sternal body of the sternocleidomastoid. Mark your point 1 sun inferior, and then have them relax their neck. Stomach 11 is located just superior to the medial end of the clavicle. It's in between the sternal and the clavicular heads of the sternocleidomastoid. To bring these into relief, ask the person to turn their head sideways. We can find the sternal and the clavicular heads of the sternocleidomastoid, and here's the depression for stomach 11. But be aware of the fact that when the person turns their head back to the front, the dip will move laterally slightly. Small intestine 4 is on the ulnar aspect of the hand, in this nice depression between the base of the fifth metacarpal and the triquetral bone, which is this palpable bone on the ulnar aspect of the wrist. Lung 7 is located 1.5 cm proximal to lung 9. It's located just a little lateral to the main line running from lung 9 to lung 5, in a cleft between the tendons of abductor pollicis longus and brachioradialis. It's located just at the base of the flare of the styloid process of the radius. In this position, the point is just about visible on the corner of the arm. If you locate the point too radial, it's falling onto the yang surface of the arm.
Pericardium 7 is on the flexor aspect of the wrist. It's level with heart 7 and between two tendons, palmaris longus and flexor carpi radialis. Some people don't have this palmaris longus tendon, in which case you'd just be going ulnar to this flexor carpi radialis. So finding heart 7, articulate the wrist, coming between those two tendons, that if you can't see them, you can get the person to join their thumb and their little finger together, and that will highlight those two tendons. And just relax again. Heart 5 is on the flexor aspect of the forearm. It's 1 cm proximal to heart 7, on the radial side of this flexor carpi ulnaris.
To find lung 10, find the midpoint of the shaft of the first metacarpal and go in between that point and the muscle of the thenar eminence.
Lung 11, it's at the radial nail point of the thumb. So in order to find that point, I'm going to look at where the proximal and radial borders of the nail meet. I'm going to look at the nail bed, feel for where the flare of the bone is, and put my point in. Large intestine 4. You're going to find the length of the second metacarpal bone. So running your finger down, finding the base, making sure that you're not actually on the carpal bones themselves, finding the midpoint of that shaft of bone, coming between the first and second metacarpals, nearer to the second than the first, in the muscle.
Stomach 39 is located 7 cm superior to prominence of the lateral malleolus, 1 finger breadth lateral to the anterior crest of the tibia. Remember to use the width of the body's finger, not your own. This point therefore lies inferior and anterior to stomach 40. Gallbladder 38 is located fourth and superior to the prominence of the lateral malleolus at the anterior border of the fibula. If you palpate up from the lateral malleolus, feeling the posterior and anterior border of the fibula, it should be easy to find this point. Stomach 45 is the lateral nail point of the second toe. Be sure to mark this point clear of the nail bed and in the flare of the base of the distal phalange.
Kidney 1 is on the sole of the foot, between the second and third metatarsals, approximately 1/3 of the distance between the base of the second toe and the heel. It falls into a depression when the foot is plantar flex.